Moving on, the University of Chicago's air quality report reveals the latest data from which the Air Quality's Life Index. It says that the particulate pollution is the greatest global health threat. It shortens the life of any individual, Priyanshu, on this planet by 2.2 years. But it is even worse off for countries like India. It's right. India, it's the Southeast Asia belt. So it's India and adjoining areas, whether it's Nepal, Bangladesh, Pakistan, which are even worse than any other part of the world.
Right. India, in fact, is the second most polluted country in the world. And as you said, the life expectancy that's being reduced worldwide, the condition is worse for India. Here in India, life is cut short by 5 years due to the air that we breathe. And it's cutting life in Delhi, where all of us live, by 10 years. Now, to understand the problem, the consequences and the possible solutions, we have with us one of the co-authors of this shocking report. It's Christa Hasenkopf, who is also the director of Air Quality Life Index. We welcome you, ma'am, to the discussion. Now, if I can first ask you about the consequences of this report, the consequences of air pollution on our life. It was earlier considered a luxury, but it's actually cutting our life short now?
That's correct. And first of all, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to be here with you, and thanks for the opportunity. As you said, our latest report shows that in 2020, global annual average particulate pollution remained really high, more than 5 times the WHO guidelines. And that's despite the rapid slowdown in the global economy we all witnessed due to the onset of the pandemic in 2020. Those global pollution levels were largely unchanged from 2019. And according to our study, these high pollution levels translate into more than 2 years of life lost to the average life expectancy across the globe, compared to if we were breathing air according to the WHO guidelines. And to put that in perspective, that impact of polluted air is larger than the impacts of road injuries, HIV/AIDS, malaria, and war combined. And for South Asia, those costs are much larger. Our study identified South Asia as the most polluted region in 2020. India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Nepal remain among the top 5 most polluted countries in the world. And average life expectancy across these 4 countries would be 5 years higher if pollution concentrations remained at those WHO guidelines. And for India, that 5-year loss to life expectancy due to polluted air is larger than if all child and maternal malnutrition issues in India were fixed, and also larger than if all Indians who smoke quit smoking.
Right, Christa, if you can take us through, like you said, in India, we're even worse off. It does cut short our life by almost 5 years thanks to the way that we're breathing, the air that we're breathing. But here in Delhi, which is the most polluted city according to your report in the world, our life is getting cut by almost 10 years.
Yeah, that's correct. According to our estimates of the impact, it's quite stark. And as a general trend, we see across South Asia, pollution has been increasing over the past 2 decades, right. As opposed to the global trend, which is a bit flat and even slightly improving.
Right. And it's very interesting to note that even during the pandemic, the global air pollution remained flat. And in fact, it increased in countries like India and other countries in South Asia. That's the time when everybody expected pollution to go down because the economic activity had slowed. So now, does this mean that even a reduction in economic activities can't help improve air quality anymore?
I don't think it means that. I think it does teach us that the blue skies that we saw for those brief periods during early COVID lockdowns in 2020 were not enough for long-term solutions. I also think they showed us what it was like to have clean air. And I think more than anything, it shows us that air pollution is a stubborn problem that takes persistent work over long time periods to see progress.
Right.
Right. Christa, we have seen, as far as China is concerned, from 2013, they've managed to bring down their pollution by almost 40%, 39.6% to be precise. And that's how their life expectancy has increased by 2 years, according to your report. What can we here in India do to increase our life expectancy, especially in the Indo-Gangetic area where it is, in fact, the worst impacted? How can we increase our life expectancy, say, in a matter of 7 to 10 years?
Yeah, I think in China, I think it has been a beacon of progress. I think we can take broad lessons from similar economies in what they did, which was really put a combination of strict policies and considerable financial resources behind the effort. But I think how that actually plays out and what works best from one country to another is really dependent upon that country. I think the National Clean Air Program instituted by the government of India is there's a lot of hope in that and seeing progress. Also from our report, we estimate that if NCAP were to meet its goals by 2024, the average Indian citizen would see an increase in 1.6 years life expectancy.
Right, and recently India has decided to phase out single-use plastic completely by the next month. How do you think this can help, considering that vehicular pollution is in fact one of the major sources of pollution? And as per your report, vehicles on our roads are up by 4 times in India since early 2000s. So what do you think are the additional steps that we need, some steps that we can possibly pick up from China as we discussed?
Yeah, I think it's a variety of efforts. I don't think there'll be any single one silver bullet, but I do think it's a variety of efforts. You know, for instance, here at the University of Chicago, within the Energy Policy Institute, we're also working with the state, Gujarat in India, on an emissions trading scheme as well that we've seen success for reducing particulate matter by 20% since 2019. So I think it's going to be a variety of efforts and no single bullet.
Right, of course. And also another argument is that pollution is a byproduct of economic growth and air quality will go down with economic growth. But interestingly, your report also states that air pollution is not a law of nature and countries have in fact grown even without damaging the air quality. So how can countries like India also grow in a developing stage without damaging the environment and the air quality?
So it's absolutely the case that there's precedent for multiple countries having economic growth while addressing their air pollution issues. China's an example. The United States is another. And I think especially as we're coming into so much support around taking climate action and a focus on renewable energy, I think there's a great opportunity for many economies, many countries to both grow their economies and find energy sources in smart ways, but also reduce the impact of that burden on their population in terms of pollution levels.
Right.
Christa, when we talk about the pollution and the increase that we've seen in the last couple of years, especially since 2013, we've seen that the increase in pollution has been about 44% as far as India is concerned. That's India's contribution. And of course, overall, the pollution has increased by almost 61% that we're seeing since 1998. Those are the data and information coming out from your report. So what are the sources? Where can we kind of, find that solution that we need, in fact? And how many years before we can clean up our act?
Yeah, so the increase across not just India, but South Asia has really been, as you point out, part of a larger trend over the past 2 decades. It's a byproduct of industrialization, economic development, and population growth, and that's led to skyrocketing energy demands that's come in the form of combusting fossil fuels. I think again, is a multi-pronged effort, but it ultimately comes down to finding replacements for fossil fuels or burning them more cleanly in terms of their impact on air pollution.
Right. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. A very shocking report there talking about how life here in the national capital can reduce by almost 10 years only because of the way that we are breathing.
Definitely, air pollution is now taking away our life here. It's very concerning data there. But with this, we slip into a very short break, but lots more news coming up. Stay with us.